So, get this. Can a single word, just one word, kickstart a full-blown national identity crisis? Well, we're about to dive into the absolutely wild story of Midgate, where a food critic's casual insult sent Singapore's entire culinary reputation into a tailspin, only for it to come out the other side stronger and a whole lot weirder.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? I mean, can one little slang word, one throwaway comment actually unravel decades of painstakingly built prestige? Well, as you're about to see, the answer is a massive, and honestly, a pretty hilarious, yes. Okay, here it is. This is the sentence that kicked the whole thing off. Just a brutally witty takedown of Singapore's famous chili crab by New York Times critic Silas Spoon. It was sharp, it was catchy, and man, it lit a fire that just swept across the entire country. All right, let's set the scene. November 8th, 2025. This is when it all starts. One food review, one tweet, and a culinary powerhouse starts to, well, wobble.
So just in case you're not up on the slang, mid is the word at the center of this whole mess. See, it doesn't mean something's terrible or even bad. It just means it's meh, average. And you know, in this world obsessed with 5-star reviews and Michelin stars, being called just aggressively average, that's almost a bigger insult than being called flat-out awful.
So, Spoon's comment wasn't just a one-off. It was like he opened the floodgates. All of a sudden, other critics felt like, okay, I can say it now. You had Bella Bites from the BBC cleverly calling mee goreng, magoreng. But the real kicker? Even some of the locals, like a vendor named Auntie Mei-ling Tan, were kind of admitting, yeah, you know what? Maybe the hype got a little ahead of itself.
And the online reaction? It was just immediate and huge. Get this, 23 million tweets using hashtag #SingaporeMead in the first 24 hours. That's insane. This wasn't about food anymore. This was a full-on global internet moment.
And this wasn't just online chatter, you know? It had real-world consequences. We're not talking about hurt feelings here, we're talking about money. Tourism to Singapore, boom, drops 12% practically overnight. Meanwhile, neighboring Malaysia, they see a massive 35% jump as people start changing their travel plans. The hit was real, and it was fast. Okay, so the online anger, yeah, that didn't stay online. It spilled out onto the streets, and I gotta say, one of the weirdest and most theatrical protests I think I've ever heard of. And this is the guy leading the charge, the voice of this whole strange movement, Ollie Ong. Now, he wasn't just mad at the critics from outside. No, he was taking aim at what he called Singapore's own hype machine. And believe me, he did not hold back. And their tactics? Pure street theater. They do these flash mobs, right? Pop up out of nowhere, find some tourist or influencer, and confront them with these so-called flavorless feasts, basically trying to get them to admit the food was just okay. The big one was this chili crab confessional. You had 500 people all gathered, chanting mid, not myth. It was totally absurd, but you couldn't look away. So this thing that started local, it went global fast. It became a full-blown international event. You had all these big-name food celebrities and influencers flying into Singapore, but not to defend it. Oh no, they came to join in on the fun. And it all came to a head in this viral event they called the Mediocre Meal-Off, where they literally put Singapore's most famous dishes head-to-head with their rivals from around the region. And the results? It was a total bloodbath. Thai Tom Yum destroyed the turtle soup. Malaysian street food just laughed at kaya toast. It was a public and very decisive loss. And of course, the social media stars just poured gasoline all over this fire, like Finn Fletcher from the Food Network. He drops this video calling kaya toast buttered boredom on bread. That video just exploded. We're talking 112 million views. So now it was official. The mid-verdict was basically certified by some of the biggest voices on the internet. So right when it looks like this is a complete and total disaster, Singapore does something absolutely brilliant. They just stopped fighting it. Instead, they decided to own it.
So instead of putting out some boring press release, you know what they did? They dropped merch. They called it Meh Merch, and it pulled in an incredible $4.2 million in just a couple of days. They figured out how to make money off their own crisis. Genius.
And the stuff they were selling was just so perfectly self-deprecating. I mean, you could get lanyards that said, hang your meh on it, or chili crab koozies for tepid tears, even protest platters. And the local vendors, they jumped right in, rebranding their food stalls, giving away free mid-mugs with your meal. The insult, it was now officially a badge of honor.
And the craziest part? It actually worked. It totally turned that tourism slump around. Visits shot back up by 18%. They basically rebranded the whole country as a Mecca. And it started attracting this whole new kind of tourist, people they called low expectation lovers, folks who were just tired of all the hype. They came for the joke and for the promise of mid-deals for mid-meals. All right, so after all that, what do we take away from this absolutely wild week? Let's recap this pretty incredible story of a crisis and a comeback.
I mean, just look at how fast this all happened. In less than a week, Singapore goes from being a global laughingstock to a marketing genius. You go from that review on November 8th to a full tourism rebound by the 14th. It was just a masterclass in flipping a PR nightmare into a huge win.
And to bring the whole story full circle, even the biggest critics ended up coming around. Remember Finn Fletcher, the guy who called it buttered boredom? Well, he came back and said, "Mid's the new Michelin." So Singapore didn't just survive the insult, they actually made the insult cool.
Which kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. In a world that is just obsessed with hype, with five-star everything and perfect influencer photos, maybe there's something really powerful about just being, honestly, average. Perhaps by owning its midness, Singapore actually found the most authentic and relatable brand of all. What do you think?